Every vote counts and every vote is important. This final leaders debate is your opportunity to see the two leaders up against each other just a couple of days before the election. So it's high pressure, high intensity, high stakes.
Join Jessica Mutch McKay for the final leaders debate. Next, live on One.
Kia ora, good evening and welcome to the final TVNZ Leaders Debate. There's now just 2 days left to vote, and this is one of the last opportunities for the leaders to pitch to any undecided voters. I'm very pleased to have an audience tonight here. It feels like a bit of a luxury in this COVID-19 era. And remember, if you're deaf or hard of hearing, you can watch sign language interpreters on Freeview Channel 200. But let's start tonight with the latest and final One News Colmar Brunton poll of the 2020 campaign. 48 hours out, here's how the parties are looking. Labour is sitting on 46, down 1 from last week's poll. National is on 31, also dropping 1. The Greens boost up to 8 and ACT is still on 8 as well. New Zealand First creeps up to 3, but on these numbers won't make it back to Parliament. Now for some of the other parties. The New Conservative Party sits on 2, and Advance New Zealand, the Opportunities Party and the Māori Party all get 1 each. These numbers mean Labour would need the Greens to govern and National and ACT would be warming the opposition benches. I want to put these numbers to you first, Jessica Ardern. You may be able to govern alone or even with the Greens. Do you promise this time to be transformational? You sat here 3 years ago and said that you would.
And I believe that we have been. You know, change, real change, requires steps that bring people with us. If we want lasting support us to continue with the progress we've made.
More about child poverty a bit later on, but just on the polls, National has an understanding with ACT and Epsom. You haven't done the same with Greens for Auckland Central. This is MMP. Why not play the game?
Polling candidate.
Judith Collins, on these numbers, you're stagnating in the early 30s. Why haven't you been able to bring those National supporters back?
Well, I'd say to you, Jessica, there's around about, I think it's 14% of people are either undecided or they've refused to answer the pollsters' questions. I would say a good chunk of those people who will be saying, yes, we want to come and vote National.
Earlier in the year, National was sitting firmly in the 40s under Simon Bridges. Would National have been better just to stick with him?
Well, I think...
All right, well, we'll wrap this part of the debate up. Later in the programme, I have questions from undecided voters. But after the break, can New Zealand build back better? What will our leaders have in store for the next 3 years?
The best things about this One News election team are the combination of passion and experience.
I really love election time.
You're going to get that breadth of coverage from all our reporters. We have really clear information.
You are going to be able to understand what the election result means for you.
What's most important in this minute?
Exactly who has won, where and when. It's going to be a fascinating night.
Join the One News team for Election Night Special, Saturday from 7, live on One.
Welcome back. One of these women will form the next government, but it's not going to be an easy 3 years. Not only do we need an economic recovery plan, but New Zealand already has some deep-seated problems to fix. So let's start off with poverty. Jessica Ardern, this week you promised to halve child poverty by 2030. But the Child Poverty Action Group have told us in preparing for this debate that you could actually fix it right now. You could use that $14 billion pot of money left over from the COVID recovery fund and you could use that to solve that problem right now. Wouldn't that be transformational?
Well, 2 things I think we need to...
Where's the urgency? That's got to be tempting, having that money sitting there.
And there is urgency. The first 100 days, one of the first things we did was issue a budget outside last National Government's tax cuts in order to support those on the lowest incomes instead. Now, we did that with urgency because it was one of the most pressing issues, and we have continued every step. But I will not fix child poverty in 3 years.
But actually,
it's another reason I'm asking for a mandate.
It's got worse. So if you look at no, it is correct. And if you look at material hardship,
if you let her talk, I'll come back to you.
Material hardship, kids living in material hardship, she's talking about, actually depend on other people's income coming down because it's a medium income. It's got.
Are you comfortable though with this idea of a separate system?
Well, I'm not comfortable with it in terms of a different justice system. What I am comfortable with...
We should be taking a partnership approach.
All right, well, we're going to leave it there. Thank you very much. Coming up, we put out a call for questions from undecided voters and got a huge response. I'll put some of those to the leaders next. Welcome back. It's not just a COVID election. When we asked undecided voters to send us their questions, we got a huge range of topics. So let's start with an issue that's proving stressful for our fruit and vegetable growers. I want to ask both of you, would you be prepared to make an exception for fruit pickers to come from the Pacific to help us out here? We are, after all, making exceptions for sports teams. Jacinda Ardern.
Yes, we would be prepared to.
All right.
Training and so on. And that's also
good
what
job,
I can
Lucas.
do.
You sparked a lot of debate there. I enjoyed that. But we're going to have to leave it there. One of these leaders will form the next government, but under MMP, they'll need some help. Next, I'll ask the leaders about negotiations and bottom lines. On tonight's poll numbers, there will be negotiations to form a government. Both ACT and the Greens are in a strong position. So let's talk about that now. Jacinda Ardern, will you implement the Greens wealth tax?
No.
They say they're bringing it to the negotiating table.
And I've made my view.
Judith Collins, you've heard her talking there. Do you believe her?
Well, no, I believe that she will, in fact, implement, if she gets a chance, one of the Greens' tax requests. So they've got, for instance, a top tax rate going up a year to the welfare budget. How can you possibly afford to give them what they want?
But I want
ACT
to put a
want to
question
freeze
here.
the minimum wage for 3 years. And ACT want a flat tax rate. Will National implement that?
No, we've said
we
that
campaign on our issues, and I've made clear what I will not implement. And what we hear is
will you put up
mischief.
the top tax rate?
That is Labour's policy. We keep fulfilling our refugee obligations, but we also need to house everyone.
All right, thank you very much. So final questions are after the break, and the final word from both of the leaders. Stay with us. Welcome back. We're nearing the end of the debate. We'll hear the final pitch from the leaders shortly. But first, I want to talk to both of you about leadership. Firstly, Jacinda Ardern, if you become Prime Minister next week, will you stay on for a full term?
Yes.
If you don't win, would you stay on as Leader of the Opposition?
No.
Judith Collins, if you don't become Prime Minister next week, why should National keep you in the job?
Because I'm doing a very good job that works for you.
All right, well, there you have it. Thank you very much to the leaders, and thank you very much to our audience. Get out and vote if you haven't done that already. You can join the One News team for our election night special on Saturday from 7 p.m. Those results are going to roll in quickly, and we'll be right across it. Thanks to the team in the studio and in the control room. Good night.